I'm Colleen Yates, and I'm the CEO with Regional Development Australia Perth, and welcome to our business show. Today, we've got Peter Newman from Curtin University, and we're going to talk about the exciting world surrounding Lithium Valley. So, Peter, late last year at a Western Harbours Alliance, you had mentioned to the crowd, because I think there were over 100 people there, you spoke about Lithium Valley. So how did you come up with that?
Yes, I did just drop that little phrase, and I've been dropping it more frequently ever since. Lithium Valley came out of my kind of global work that I do with the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, where we're really looking at a future that unless we electrify everything, including transport, but also solar electric, the use of power, then we are really stuffed, to use a technical term. And the solution has come forward in technology that is both related to the solar we put on our roofs, but most of all now in the batteries. Lithium-ion batteries are like the holy grail. For years we've been saying we've got to get a decent battery to replace lead-acid batteries because they're too heavy and too toxic and they're too costly. So we'll never solve the renewables problem unless we've got batteries. And we have. And they've come down 10 times in price in the recent decade. They're dramatically taking off for use in all kinds of ways, especially in electric vehicles. So I'm thinking, lithium, where does that come from? How do we use it? And it's going to dramatically increase in use. So are we going to run out of it? All of these questions, and I've been resolving them through the IPCC, who are very keen, because this is our opportunity to get rid of both coal and oil, and probably gas too.
That's really fantastic. So, and I understand with RDA Perth is working with Curtin University and the Kwinana Industries Council and a number of the other RDAs across the state, following on from a few conversations that we've had, and to develop actually the report to look at Lithium Valley and energy metals and battery manufacturing, which that report will be out before long. We have released the summary report. We brought Tesla over from the US, and they presented quite well to a big, quite an audience. And from that, it seems that we've got quite a bit of interest from the state government in this space.
Yeah. Yes, I didn't actually, when I began this, think about it being a local place. Lithium Valley is going to have to happen. In the same way Silicon Valley took over in California and created that whole IT revolution, which every place has now taken on. Every Maasai herdsman has a mobile phone, which is, extraordinary rapidity that has taken over. But increasingly we're seeing that the importance of the energy metals, as we call it. Lithium is the fundamental one, but there's a whole series of other little ones that go in it as well. Nickel, cobalt, manganese, vanadium, rare earths. And they're all needed to make the batteries, because they're different kinds of lithium-ion batteries. And what I hadn't realised until recently is that they are all in Western Australia.
Everything
is here. And we're thinking, well, the world needs this, and they need a secure supply. Because for the last few years, people have been saying to me, but you can only get lithium from brine lakes in Bolivia. Surely that's going to be a very insecure supply and it's going to run out. And I traced this back to an oil company myth at one point because I realised that they've got a lot to lose in this whole story. But the reality is that the biggest lithium mine in the world is just down the road from Perth. That's at Greenbushes. And there are now 8 lithium mines in Western Australia. and they're increasing all the time because it's a crustal element. It's easy to get to, and it's not that rare, in fact. But we're good at mining.
Yes.
We're very good at mining, and we provide it for the world. And that's our history as a state. But we go through these booms and busts depending on commodity prices. And we keep saying, why can't we actually make things here? And now we're thinking, well, let's see if we can create Lithium Valley. We can actually make things here as well as having all these metals and processing them and exporting for the world. The world needs it. We're not going to be able to produce enough batteries here for the whole world, but why not create the whole value chain right here in Western Australia?
Well, I think you're right. We do have all the resources here. We also have the technology. I know Curtin University is doing some really great things in that space, and so is Murdoch. And if we just bring all of this together, I think we can actually, it's like low-hanging fruit when it comes to manufacturing. It's something that's quite simple. So, and further to what you're saying about, the investment is that the fact that we've got a number of companies here. Out of the top 4 companies, or the largest refining companies in the world, we have already 3 of them here. That is absolutely amazing. And
what's wrong with the 4th?
Well, we need to go talk to them.
Yeah. I think they're still in the brine lakes. Yeah, look, they'll come down from the mountain eventually and see that it's in rocks that you'll find the future. Look, I think the interesting thing about this is that the reason why we could never add value here locally before was that it was always cheaper to produce the value adding using cheap labour. And China has done an amazing job at doing that with the solar facilities and now with the batteries. But they've come down to the significantly in price because of mass production using cheap labour. But we're now at a significantly different point in history because the vehicle manufacturers need lithium-ion batteries with much higher quality minerals in them. The metals have to be very pure in order to get the quality of battery life. And you can't do it with cheap, low value. You cannot do it unless you've got very highly automated processes where you have significant scientific monitoring and analytical capability. So suddenly manufacturing looks like it's something you could do in Western Australia. Now we're good at that smart mineral processing. We know how to find the minerals cleverly, to dig them up in exactly the right proportions, to put them into the right piles, to put them in the right trains and trucks and into the ships and take them to the right refineries. But this is an order of magnitude more accurate. And so the first 2 or 3 companies have now chosen to come to Western Australia in order to be near the product and to process it using high quality processes that can be properly refined and monitored using the kind of science and engineering skills that we have. So that's a big thing. Added to that is this strategic issue that other places that have got some of the energy metals are not very safe places. And
like the Congo?
The Congo isn't the greatest place in the world for having the most cobalt. We've got cobalt associated with our nickel. So suddenly the nickel producers are saying, right, we'll do more of that. We'll produce the cobalt byproduct and make that the main product. And all of a sudden you've got, a significant resource. Depends on the price of it. The price went up 20 times or something. So there you go. And so we've now got a situation where with government assistance, federal and state and local, we can pull together an opportunity to manage a strategic resource as well as a planetary important set of resources that can significantly add to the future, which is hanging in the balance in terms of climate change and so on. So it's a big issue and one that we can now contribute to.
And Western Australia is well placed for that. So we, as you're saying, we've got low sovereign risk. We've got excellent world-class environmental management, and I think the markets, as they grow, will be looking for these elements that Western Australia already has.
Yeah, markets will make the decisions. Governments don't actually play in the world. They might just get a few ideas about it, but mostly they react to it and modify markets in some way. And that's their role continuing in this. But certainly the big boys out there, and they're nearly all boys, are going for this market in a big way. Yeah. And they need some encouragement to get the facilities right, to get the approvals process right, to get all of that infrastructure right, and to enable the science to be focused in on it. Now, these are the things that government can help on. But at the moment, it's all going in the right direction. It's a question of whether we can do it quickly enough.
That's correct.
To help the market say, yes, Lithium Valley, it's in Western Australia, actually at Kwinana. And there are other places that help with that. But the Kwinana industrial area has all of the facilities that we need to help make this next big economic move.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for the whole state because we've got the resource right across the whole state. And so what, in talking about Kwinana, what are some of those elements that you see with Kwinana that are essential for the downstream processing of the raw materials into the actual batteries?
Well, as a West Australian, you drive past Kwinana and see, this industrial area and you think, oh yeah, big industries, could see it anywhere. When I did the state sustainability strategy working in the Premier's office back in the early part of this century, I discovered that it had some actually amazing features to it because it is one of these industrial ecology special places. There's something like 180 different waste exchanges between the industries so that instead of buying new resource, you can use someone else's waste at a much cheaper price and save all of that problem of pollution. And that is all done because they work together. They're a partnership. Now that's unusual amongst industries. They certainly compete, but they are also in partnership. The Kwinana Industries Council helped to establish this and create this opportunity for people to work together. And so the industrial ecology is one feature. It's also able to recycle the sewage that comes past there and turn it into the scheme water that they use. So they're not actually using pure water that's provided from the sky. It is actually the waste of Perth that they convert and use. So those are an indication that this is an area that is likely to do the right thing. And if we can have that as the backdrop and get all the approvals done for environmental matters that relate to each of the new industries, we are likely to be able to attract people who also want to do the right thing and be part of this new market. So Kwinana is certainly a big part of that future, and the local community will love it because there are 100,000 jobs possible and $50 billion for the state every year. This is not small bickies. This is serious economic advantage and in an area that could do with it. There are also other parts of it around the state that we think in our report that we can add to. We've got the e-waste, we've got the goldfields, we've got the Pilbara, we've got down the Great Southern areas that are all going to gain from it.
Yeah. So with the Kwinana area, I know that the state government has put together a task force to look at the new port. How do you think this lithium concept and establishing the companies in this particular area will drive the development of that port?
Well, they're rather linked. The port is something that I've certainly been working on for some time, and the idea of enabling the Port of Fremantle to grow 2 to 3 times its present size when it's clearly an old sailing ship port that's past its prime. It doesn't have the land backing around it. It's full of containerised trucks, and the whole city is suffering. This is one of the great heritage cities of the world. You imagine putting in a container port right next to Venice or any of those beautiful European cities. Well, this is our gem. This has got the highest concentration of heritage buildings in Australia. And we've got a port that's increasingly dominated by container-based trucks. So it has to shift. The outer hub, that's where I started on this issue as a local resident in Fremantle, been fighting this problem of trucks through the city for a long time. But the outer harbour, further around, out in the ocean where, as most cities in the world do, they shift from their sailing boat harbour in the river mouth out into the area around it in the ocean, and they make a big container facility there. Singapore's done it, Sydney's done it, Melbourne's done it. So this is the opportunity to do that. But it's a slow process. People don't like to change. It's easy in Fremantle. It's a nice, easy life just to let it keep going. Well, it's certainly not the future. And the land-backed areas around the Kwinana area, which are at the back of the new port, offer the opportunity for significant economic development. And that's when I thought of Lithium Valley. Yes, Lithium Valley needs to go there. It's obvious, because all those other industries are there already. And we can make the most of that and export to the world from there. That then makes sense. So the two need to go together. Lithium Valley will enable the next phase of the Westport, as it's called, to expand rapidly, to be facilitated. And we need full federal, state, local support to make that happen. We need the community to get behind it, and I think that will, because they certainly did not like the expansion of the Fremantle port. So this is the opportunity that we've all been looking for.
Well, in the summary document that's been released, just overviewing what the report is about, we've made a number of recommendations in there for the federal government and for the state. And so far, there seems to be a fairly good acceptance of what those recommendations are. So what do you think about some of those recommendations?
Yeah, well, I think just start with the regional ones first, and then the others. But the regional one, for a start, is that the e-waste could be processed at the Oakajee industrial area in Geraldton. Now that's a few hundred kilometres to the north of Perth, but it's got its own port. It's on the railway line to the southwest, and it faces out into the Asian, Indian and African region, where most of the economic growth is going to be happening into the future, and a lot of batteries are going to be ready to be recycled. So bring them back there. It's like creating a new mine there and mining. It's about 100 times the concentration of the ore that we're mining anyway. And you need all of those clever facilities that can enable you to properly do that in a highly automated way and a clean way. But e-waste is a big issue, and there's no reason at all why we can't make that part of Lithium Valley as well. But the focus is on Kwinana, but there will be other, just the same way Silicon Valley had other little bits that sort of were part of it. So that will be one. The Goldfields has its lithium, and they've got the first processing plant announced. Bunbury's got another one coming, and then there's the Great Southern that's been on again, off again with their lithium. They can come in. The Pilbara have a lot of lithium and the first processing plant being built. So the opportunities are scattered around this large area that is about the size of Western Europe with only 2.5 million people. But it's an opportunity for us to make the most of that whole region. The other recommendations are mostly about how the state government can brand this area as Lithium Valley and make the world aware that this is where we expect people who want to do business in Western Australia with mining ought to now be seeing a future to process things. To go to the EU along with the federal government who look after foreign affairs and tell them that their strategic metals that they're worried about, what do they call them? CRMs?
Critical raw materials.
Critical raw materials. They're all here. You want to do deals about the future and guarantee your new energy economy, make sure you've got a good deal going with the Lithium Valley in Western Australia. That's the kind of thing that governments can do and help set that up. But there are also ways in which special industrial zones can be created with economic incentives that are more about the processes of approval, the customs duties and things that are paid. That whole approach to enable a port-related industrial area to have a special role in Australia, because this is a special role. It is very special, and it should be treated that way. The other planning kind of things that enable it to happen, we do need a bit of road and rail connections to be finalised. We do need the port to be finalised, and but not before we can start putting industries in there. It's pretty much ready to go in terms of the intermodal services and the opportunities for businesses to locate there. Then you can say, well, okay, we're processing the minerals. What about the next step? The batteries? Well, you need this and that for that. And then what to do with the batteries? Why don't we talk about how we can use these batteries in our transport system, in our buildings, to demonstrate to the world why this new economy is needed and to show that it works. Now, we're already doing some of that. That's a lot of our research has been showing that in Western Australia, with all our sun, that solar has taken off. With 30% of households now have rooftop solar. That's 1,000 megawatts. It's the biggest power station in Western Australia. So that's happening. People are buying batteries and linking into that. And we've created with blockchain the first software peer-to-peer trading, it's called, people to not only use the solar and store it in their batteries, but to sell it out to markets that you create through the blockchain software and a trusted ledger that is created. So we got the first experiments in that, and it's showing that it works and you save money. It is economically successful. Now that is now being spread to the whole of the city of Fremantle, which is a very innovative, sustainable-oriented council, and they've said, all right, let's get the first 200 houses that want to be part of this, and they can be committed. If they got solar on the roof, and they want to join a community battery, they can link into that, and therefore they don't need their own battery, and they help support the whole grid. Then, so the local utility's very pleased with this, and they're supporting it. And so we're monitoring that, setting it up, and demonstrating that very rapidly the whole city can be run by solar and batteries. And then you plug in your electric vehicles, your electric trains, your electric autonomous buses, all of them, electric bikes, and they're all run off the sun. That's the future we're heading towards very rapidly. And we not only need to show that in our own city, we need to show that the minerals for this are not only available but can be produced in a very clever way. We can export them to the rest of the world to use, but we also are going to produce all of the resources, the batteries, the systems that can make a zero carbon city.
That would be really fantastic.
Why not?
Yeah. So tell me just a little bit about the CRC.
Yeah, the CRC is Cooperative Research Centre. These were started by Bob Hawke, our Prime Minister back in the 80s. They are industry-led research with government backing and universities delivering. And that tripartite kind of partnership is really what we're talking about in this whole Lithium Valley thing. But it's been happening in research for some time, and the partnerships work. You add value when you get people working together, and that's what happens in CRC. So this new one is called the CRC in New Energy Industries, and it will have all the backing of the big companies. It will have all levels of government backing it, and it will have national focus in the universities who get behind it. It will be based at Curtin. We're leading it, and we will have the researchers busy in a way in laboratories and out working with the companies that are setting up. They'll have facilities where you can do the detailed analysis and make sure that the whole monitoring system is working. And you will have social scientists like our students and researchers who can take the meanings of this into policy and apply it, who can take the kind of demonstration projects of how you use the new energy economy and demonstrate to the world that it works as long as you do this or that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Peter, for illuminating us on our bright new future moving ahead. And thank you to everyone for watching our show today. And don't forget to subscribe to our show. I'm Colleen Yates with Regional Development Australia, and we'll see you again.